What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Flan Speaks back for another video. These right here, these types of videos, believe it or not, are my favorite ones. These are my favorite ones, man. Because we get to sit here and rap about some things that are a little bit more, than just sports. Somebody taking a damn ball and running up and down the field and tackling each other or shooting the ball in a hoop. Silly shit that we spend our time on. So Jalen Hurts, so let me put it like this. The Philadelphia Eagles visited the White House and spent some time with President Donald Trump yesterday. And a few players declined not to go. Listen, I don't know the exact reasons. I haven't seen official statements from anyone, whether it's I believe it's Devontae Smith. I believe A.J. Brown. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And then, of course, most notably, the quarterback Jalen Hurts declined not to go. Now, I've heard speculation from a friend of mine who said that he read somewhere that he had a prior engagement, and that was the primary reason. I don't know how true any of that is, right? But I wanted to speak somewhat on this sort of thing. Now, I've had people kind of reach out to me who know that I'm an Eagles fan, an Eagles really aficionado level fan, who were felt like this is something they liked that Jalen Hurts did, that he didn't show up. Be like, big up to Jalen Hurts and for not showing up, and I've heard others who don't like it, etc. And I know that there's a number of Philly fans that are Trump supporters. The jobs I've worked at, a lot of them are Trump supporters within the city, and especially outside of the city. Pennsylvania is kind of like interesting. The city of Philadelphia itself, you would say for the most part, are like Democratic, typically, right? But just outside the city, though, you can go right outside to a place like Glen Olden, for example, or just out other places in Delaware County, Delco, and you'll find the complete opposite. Many of them are, of the Republican Party. And the Republican Party, of course, is interesting now because you have the real staunch Trump supporters, which you call the MAGA people, Make America Great Again people. And then you just have like the classic Republicans who supported guys like the Bushes and, the Romneys, etc. So they're very interesting. Some of them like Trump, some of them don't. Recently, former President George W. Bush has recently came out and spoke against a lot of what's going on. He sees them as really, extreme. And it's interesting because I remember when Bush was in office, I saw him as extreme. So now these guys are even more, extreme to him. This is amazing how these guys seem to wisen up after, they leave office and so on. But whatever the case may be, I don't speak as a Democrat or Republican. I don't see either side as being superior to the other. I agree with some things that are conservative like, and I agree with some other things that are liberal like. Okay, it just all depends on the issue. I don't. Neither one got it right to me. You know what I mean? So, or at least completely. I come from somewhere somewhat in the middle. Now, when it comes to visiting the president, I've made it known here, definitely not a Donald Trump supporter. I don't see how anyone like myself could be. And this is because of, you just look at some of the moves he's made. They aren't moves that someone like myself would support in terms of like members of his cabinet, selections. He's selected people that were known, neocons, and even worse, you're talking about people that have ties to groups like the Ku Klux Klan. You have guys like Elon Musk, who is employed, who have ties to different apartheid South African types of movement and ways of thinking. And I mean, how in the hell can I support that? You know, that would be ridiculous. That's like if Barack Obama had appointed Minister Louis Farrakhan to a cabinet or to a position or something like that. Like, I'm sure there's a number of people out here, that aren't black that would have a problem with that. So it's just some of that is just common sense and natural. You know what I mean? At any rate, if I could have it my way, but let's say if I'm in that position, I'm Jalen Hurts. I look at it from that standpoint, right? Even though I don't agree with a lot of Donald Trump stuff in terms of like just whether it's foreign, whether it's domestic stuff, and definitely foreign stuff, is his stuff that he's doing, foreign policy. But the foreign policy stuff, actually, he's no worse than pretty much anyone else, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's Biden, whether it's Bill Clinton, whether it's Obama, or any of them. When it comes to that, they're all pretty much in unison when it comes to foreign policy. The way they treat that evil country in the Middle East, the way they support them, give them billions of dollars every year, despite what they're doing, committing genocide, on a daily basis and so on. Though I don't support, will never support something like that. And I pray that those people are brought to justice, and swiftly, and I'm talking about divine justice, I'm praying for. I'm talking about divine justice, like stuff you read in the Bible where, how Sodom and Gomorrah was dealt with, how the kingdom of Pharaoh during the time of Moses was dealt with. I'm looking, that's what I'm talking about, okay? When it comes to those people over there, who claim to be people of the Bible and stuff like that, which is one of the biggest lies that's being perpetrated, in the world right now. At any rate, if I was Jalen Hurts and I had an opportunity to go and speak with President Donald Trump in any type of capacity, I think I would, right? Now, I understand there's the idea of protesting. And not showing up in order to show disgust. That is one way to show that you just don't support, the way they are. And I'm not saying he's doing this, but many people do think that. And I'm just talking about this in general. That's one way. The other way is, take the opportunity, which is a rare opportunity, and voice your concern to the president. Me personally, if I had an opportunity to speak with Donald Trump one-on-one or just even amongst the group, I would. I would have a list of my grievances, my thoughts, my opinions, and I would lay it on him. That's the opportunity to talk to him. And then see if he's the type of guy that's reasonable, that could be swayed by, the opinion. Because sometimes what happens with these people who are in these high places is they can't always relate to the common man or to all of their constituencies and stuff like that. And my main thing with him is trying to remind him, you're the president of the whole entire country. You're not just the president of the people who voted for you or the people that walk around, with MAGA hats on. You're the president of everyone, even those you don't agree with. And I think sometimes with him, my main thing is that's what gets lost. He just seems to speak to a particular base all the time, hype up just those particular people, and he doesn't hype up anyone else. And really part of what we need around here is more dialogue so that we'll see the commonalities that we have as humans and work out something to prevent, which I think is an inevitable catastrophe that's looming, right now. And then the president, really, he has the top spot. He has the best opportunity to use because he has that bully pulpit where he can actually bring about good. And if there is a way that I could, say to him, I would actually, say to him something that could lead to some good, that's what I would do. If I was Jalen Hurts or anyone else that has that opportunity to do that. But if that's not his way, or if maybe he doesn't feel like he would be able to articulate himself in a way to bring about good, or maybe he just flat out believes there's no point in doing it. Whatever it is, I do respect that. I believe in this country, as Americans, you have that right, and that nobody can censor you for that. So I get it, you know. Um, and as for you, MAGA people who now all of a sudden might not like Jalen Hurts or whatever, you know what, man? Forget y'all, man. Y'all dudes, man. Listen, politics is the realm of compromise. That's what it is. This authoritarian, borderline fascist crap that he's trying to pull. He's starting to find out quickly that stuff doesn't work. It doesn't fly. This threatening countries, like Iran. I'm going to bomb if you don't do this and do that. Being the mouthpiece for that little state over there. It's like for that little genocidal state over there. It's like, for what? And then you find out, you have generals who've been around 30 years and who have an assessment of what some of these countries have and realizing, hey, look, they're not throwing stones like they were in the 70s anymore. Everyone has drones. Everyone has all this technology. You have the emergence of groups like BRICS right now that are giving certain countries options, to move from up under, United States hegemony, and their financial system. And it's starting to work with others because you have other options now. China, Russia, who are always going to work side by side. Turkey, who's in the middle, might go that way, go this way. You got many of the Gulf states, Saudi and UAE and so on. You don't know which way they're going to go. Like, the world is changing, and right now, unfortunately, our empire, our imperial rule is declining. And for those who may be in denial about that, that is what's happening. And what I'm saying is there's an opportunity to slow it down or to stop it from being a complete collapse, and that opportunity is now, to start acting right. And if, I could in any way, if I had the opportunity to speak to those in power, who just seems to be completely self-interested in what they're doing, based on what they're doing. It's all self-interest, and, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. So, I don't know, man. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say on that. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles, for again, being the best team in the NFL last season, for even earning the opportunity to go to the White House, speak to the president. And for those who went, I don't have a problem with them going at all. Whether it's Saquon Barkley, all those of us criticizing Saquon Barkley for what? That's fine. Meet with praise the president. It is what it is. And then I got to see some of the clips of him. Trump is a funny guy. Some of the stuff he was saying, up there. But he just got to do better, man, with some of that stuff. He's so ignorant and so in a lot of ways, and I just wish he would do better, in certain things, man. But that's all I got, man, on that.